Hi, this is John Watkins, and doing travel videos for the last couple of years. By far, the most popular video we have published is our video on our trip on the Blue Ridge Parkway last year. So this year we decided to do a sequel. Come along and we'll show you what we found. Last year we traveled the Parkway from north to south. This year we traveled from south to the north, and we started the Oconaluftee Visitors Center, which is the beginning of the Parkway if you're traveling from the south, or the end if you're coming from the north. And that's the Parkway right there. This is at the Oconaluftee Visitors Center beside the river. This is really just a quintessential Appalachian scene to start our journey. And then at the Visitor Center, we saw an amazingly large herd of elk. I've never seen so many elk in Great Smoky Mountains National Park or near the Blue Ridge Parkway as we did on this day. This fellow here was mighty impressive. We then traveled up the Parkway and caught the fading light against the fall colors. Then we saw an amazing sunset light up the sky over the fall colors. Then we saw the moon rising, an amazing end to our first afternoon on the Parkway. The next day we visited the Waterrock Visitor Center, one of the most famous locations on the Parkway. And we saw that a lot of the color, this was about October 23, was already gone from the area roughly divided by the Parkway itself, as you can see. And then as you can see, as we look lower into the area, the color is better. And perhaps best seen in this part of the video. And this is the view from the other side of Waterrock Knob, looking back toward Cherokee and Great Smoky Mountains National Park. And we see kind of the same phenomenon, color in the valley. In the area roughly between the Waynesville exit or entrance and the highest point on the Parkway, which is not a very far stretch, we saw just wonderful color. I'm just going to let the pictures tell the story here. The way the light hit this hillside was particularly amazing. The color at the highest point wasn't particularly good, but you have to get a photograph in front of the sign. The sun was pretty harsh at the Devil's Courthouse, and the color wasn't so good, but I think this is still kind of a neat view. Looking Glass Falls is a short detour off the Parkway, about 10 miles south on North Carolina Highway 276. It's a beautiful waterfall, and this year the fall color was still there. I've seen it better and I've seen it worse, but this year was pretty good. This longer exposure photograph offers a slightly different perspective. This pretty scene is from a campground just down the road from the waterfall. It's a pretty sight. Sliding Rock is just a few miles from Looking Glass Falls, and man, that water must have been cold, but I think this young man was probably trying to impress someone. For the second leg of our short trip, we stayed again at the Switzerland Inn in Little Switzerland, which is just a beautiful location. And the meal in the pub, which was decorated for Halloween, was a nice way to end the day. Sunrise at the Switzerland Inn is a pretty spectacular time. You can see the mist in the valley. The next day we ventured north from the Switzerland Inn and stopped at the Grandfather Mountain overlook. The color was pretty good there this year. Here's another view of Grandfather Mountain. You can kind of see the grandfather face that some people see in the mountain, and the Linn Cove Viaduct is on the left. And here is a much closer view of the Linn Cove Viaduct. The color was pretty good up here this year. We also stopped at the Linville Falls Visitors Center, and the color was just spectacular. This may be one of my favorite shots from the trip. This was a dirt road just off the Parkway, and the colors were really beautiful. And the afternoon light spreading through the yellow trees here was just incredible. And I caught this backlit tree near sunset. The sunset over the Parkway was nearly as good as the sunrise at the Switzerland Inn. And we caught the moon rising in the last light of the day. What a beautiful scene. And what a great memory to end our little trip. Well, that was really a good follow-up, a good sequel to our 2022 trip, and we saw some beautiful foliage both years. In terms of going to the Parkway, there are some questions you might have. First question might be, well, when's the best time to go for fall foliage? Well, the answer is it varies from year to year, and you kind of got to keep an eye on what the weather's been like. There are foliage maps available on the internet that can help, but generally speaking, the second half of October is a good general guideline. I typically look at the dates between October 20th and the end of October, but you have to kind of keep your eye, as I said, on where things are going in that particular year. The second thing people might want to know is, are there any great parts of the Parkway or better parts of the Parkway? To me, I've seen most of it. I'd say it's all pretty great. But if I had to pick out one stretch just to provide you with a kind of taste of what the Parkway's like, especially if you're coming from Atlanta or Asheville, I would say the stretch from milepost 431, which is the highest point, which you saw in the video, to the Waynesville exit. It's a 15-mile stretch or so, and it really provides some beautiful views and really gives you a taste of what the Parkway's all about. If you want to go down a little further toward the south, you will wind up in Great Smoky Mountains National Park at the Oconaluftee Visitors Center, which you saw at the first part of the video. As I said, it's either the beginning of the Parkway or the end, depending on which way you're going. And that will also pass the Waterrock Knob Visitor Center. So that's a really nice stretch of the Parkway, especially, as I said, if you're coming from Atlanta or Asheville. The third thing people ask is, any tips for visiting the Parkway? Well, the first tip would be, if you're going to be staying overnight, you might want to make your reservations pretty far in advance because it's a popular time of year, although there did seem to be accommodations available this year. Also, I would say, in terms of your driving, know that the speed limit on the Parkway is a maximum of 45 miles an hour. It's lower in some parts. And you will run into some people who are unfamiliar with driving on winding mountain roads and who, may be distracted from the leaves, etc. So, you've got to just kind of take your time and be careful and be on guard because you never know what that driver in front of you or even coming from the other lane is going to do. I had two people on this trip, 4 days, nearly turn into me from the opposing lane coming the other way. So you just got to be careful and kind of take your time and don't get too distracted. Look at the foliage at the viewpoints, and there are a lot of overlooks and viewpoints, which is really a nice part of the Parkway. So I hope you get a chance to drive it, and I hope you enjoy it as much as we have. We'll see you on the next video. Thanks.